Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Tuesday, March 30th, 2020, brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs, whether it's Christmas or Halloween or anything else. Just give them a call. They are at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst. 631-957-5106 is the telephone number, and the website is liholidaylighting.com. And also brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, right just a few blocks away from Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini. Ready for spring as the front loaders and the dump trucks are all there with all the mulch and topsoil and everything else. And they want your yard to be in tip-top shape. They've got the best prices in town, so go there or send your landscaper there to Omni True Value Hardware. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. So, Mr. Rayo, on this Tuesday evening, it turned out to be a nice day with the wind machine turned off for a change.
Turned out to be a lovely day. A lot of sunshine. And during the mid-afternoon, I began to notice, and you probably noticed too, the high, thin clouds beginning to roll in, signaling a change. And we're going to get that change come tomorrow. Warm front approaching from the south, a little bit of moisture beginning to move in. Probably will not start getting wet here, Joe, until I think, well, we may see some spotty showers around midday, but the real precip probably holding off until after mid or late afternoon tomorrow. Really gets wet tomorrow night, and then then winter tries to make a comeback, at least in some parts of the state here on Thursday, and it looks like another day of gusty winds and colder temperatures and maybe some snow, maybe even appearing in parts of the tri-state area, although if you want to see the snow stick, I suspect you'll have to go well north and west to see that, but it does look like that parts of the Northeast are going to get another shot of winter here on the first day of April, and it's now April Fool's joke.
Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, for snow lovers anyway, it's too bad the upper low isn't tracking a little bit further south because it's deep enough. If it were a little bit further south, it might be a different. We'd be having maybe a different conversation today for inland areas just north and west of the coast. And who knows, maybe it would have been even for the coast too. But it's just a little bit too far to the left, and the upper low is just a little bit too far north to be of consequence to the coastal plain. But yeah, upstate New York, places like Rochester, Syracuse, they might actually do quite well. And I'm thinking maybe even in some elevated areas in upstate New York, let's say above 1,500 or 2,000 feet, could certainly wind up with a foot plus out of this.
Well, I think Syracuse is going to end up with something on the order of like 8 to 10 inches, and places even further north and west up in the Adirondacks, they could very well, the higher terrain areas could very well see more than a foot of the white stuff. So, yeah, it's going to be a late season snow for the folks, again, well north and west. Here, I wouldn't be surprised if a wet snowflake or two got mixed in with the residual showers on Thursday. I think the thing about Thursday is it's going to be a thoroughly miserable day in the sense that temps will only be in the 40s. Wind chills will probably be in the 30s. There'll still be some leftover moisture around. I believe the Yankees are supposed to start the season on Thursday at the big ballpark in the South Bronx. Good luck to all who have a ticket to that game, because you better bundle up as if you were going to a New York Giants football game as opposed to a New York Yankee baseball game. Not going to be a very pretty picture out there on Thursday.
Well, here's my question: Are we going to have wind advisories up for the sixth time in in the last 30 or 31 days? I think,
of course, April is going to start on Thursday, so we can't say March anymore.
Right.
And I was wondering about that. I think maybe we might fall just short of advisory criteria, but if it's 35 instead of 40, who's gonna get upset? Because it's still going to be with the chilly temperatures, it's going to be a a miserably dank day, I think, on Thursday.
I certainly think those winds are going to be gusting at least through the 30s. And then even into Friday, it's still going to be on the windy
Yes.
side, at least for a while. So that's going to make for temperatures that are going to have a tough time getting much above the low to mid 40s. Friday morning is going to be really cold in the 20s everywhere with the wind. It'll feel like it's in the low to mid teens. Yeah, it's April 1st. This is the frustrating part of this time of year, is because you get those pepperings of warm days. Maybe you get lucky enough that you put together two in a row, and you suddenly think that, okay, it's all done. But there's still a lot of winter-like weather, and it's still cold up in Canada, and you still get these cold air masses. It's part of the breakdown process that you get these cold air masses to come down. Each one has a little bit less punch to it as we go through the month, but it's I guess it's the necessary price that everybody pays in order to get to those better days when there's no sea breeze, no onshore flow, or an onshore flow that doesn't have the kind of impact, and that you could start to string together several warm days in a row.
Well, you're absolutely right about the positioning of the upper low. If indeed that upper low was a little further to the south and to the east, hey, we might even have had a repeat of the April 1st snowstorm that hit the Hudson Valley here in 1997. We had a good old-fashioned first-class snowfall up here with amounts generally in the 6 to 12-inch range, even higher. And that only proves that even though we're transitioning now into a new month, as you just pointed out, Joe, we could still get some significant snowfalls. And this one coming up, not going to be ours, but again, places up to the north and west, like Syracuse, like Binghamton, like Rochester, these places are going to be in line for enough enough snow to shovel come Thursday.
David Fuller hitting super chat early. Thank you, David, very much for doing that. Really appreciate it greatly. And let's get started with the watches and warnings. And there are winter storm watches up now for parts of upstate New York. You can see them there. I imagine there'll probably be some additional counties that get added to that when we get into tomorrow morning. Models are kind of still moving pieces around and trying to gauge the magnitude of the cold air as it comes in. But at least for now, these are the beginnings of winter storm watches, and also for a few counties in northwestern Vermont. This is probably going to be more for heavier snow for northwestern New England than it is going to be, say, for eastern New England because of the track of the low and the upper low. Meanwhile, there are other impacts certainly that need to be considered. There's a preemptive freeze warning up. That's the dark blue that you see across southern Missouri, southern Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, southern Ohio, and into a few counties in West Virginia. And of course, with the flash flooding that occurred with the severe weather last week, the rivers in the Tennessee Valley are still running very high. I can attest to that because some of those rivers drain down here into Lake Nottely in northern Georgia. And we have flash flood watches up for almost all of the state of Tennessee, southwestern Virginia, southwestern North Carolina, northern Georgia, and northern Alabama, and into Mississippi. And I also want to point out that SPC's been doing a little bit of upgrading here. This is tonight's severe weather risk, the marginal risk from northeast Texas, northeastward through Arkansas, northern Louisiana, northern half of Mississippi, northwestern Alabama, and western and central Tennessee, and a tiny little sliver of southern Kentucky. But they have added a slight risk. This is really no surprise. We mentioned this yesterday that this was a possibility, but they did add a slight risk, and you can guess where. The same places that have been getting hit pretty hard with the last two rounds of severe weather, although let's note the fact that it's a slight risk and not a high risk like we saw with the last two severe weather outbreaks. And that marginal risk now, Joe, they've pushed the marginal risk line up to southern New Jersey, just touching southern New Jersey. And the general thunderstorm line is now just north of New York City to about Boston, back down to north and west of Philadelphia, and then running southwest from there. So I kind of thought that maybe, considering where the wave is, and you're gonna have a warm front and that point where the warm front and the cold front kind of come together, inside that little triangle there. I kind of thought that maybe we could see a scattered thunderstorm in the mix with some of that precip late tomorrow or tomorrow night.
I agree, and I did mention in my Hudson Valley forecast on my Facebook page that there could be a rumble or two of thunder tomorrow night. I'm not even calling it a thunderstorm. I'm calling it a thunder shower, a little rumble here and there. And then the big switch over to colder weather on Thursday. And again, on Thursday, I'm not thinking that we're going to see anything in terms of a change over to, steady snow or wet snow or whatever, but wouldn't be surprised if with the last of the precip winding down on Thursday that some wet snowflakes were able to mix in, because the thicknesses, the temperatures in the upper levels of the atmosphere are going to be dropping off very quickly, as opposed to down here at the surface. It's going to be turning cold down here at the surface, but it will still be just above criteria to allow any of that to fall or get all the way down to the ground as any kind of sticking snow. So I'm not ruling out the possibility that there might be some Thursday.
Uh-oh. Are you there, Joe? Whoops.
Temperatures that are only going to be in the 40s, chill factors in the 30s, leftover precipitation. Going to be kind of an ugly day, I think, on Thursday from all vantage points.
Internet just went a little bit unstable there for the moment. Maybe it's preparing for my round of severe weather for tomorrow down in the southeast. Meanwhile, just want to go back on WPC and hang on a second, JJ. Yes, there's a little signal instability going on here. You should be getting us back shortly. I'm just, we should be back we should be okay now. All right, so let me go back on WPC here and go to their main page. And hang on. I wanted to go to their forecast tools just to take a look at what's happening, because this is actually this is a good visual to see what's going on, so we could talk about both the severe weather and also the potential for snow in the interior in the Northeast. But this is a very deep trough that is that's dropping southward. Just give me a moment here as these maps take their sweet time loading, and now they have. And let me just make this a little smaller so I could run the scale here. Okay, good. So, there's your trough that's swinging out from the northern plains down into the southwest and into Texas, moving eastward. And then during the day tomorrow, one of the things that happened with the weather on Sunday with some of the thunderstorms we had, there was a really strong 100-knot jet max that came up into New Jersey and pushed that severe weather line. But take a look down for later tomorrow into tomorrow night. When you look down into the southeast, that trough just really digs down in there, and you've got a really strong jet here as the trough sharpens and moves eastward. And of course, as it starts to pivot toward the east coast, it really sharpens up nicely. But again, the axis of that trough, Joe, just a little bit too far to the west. If it was sharpening up a bit further to the east, we probably could do a bit more with it as far as snow is concerned. But being that it's so far to the west, it really does keep most of any accumulating snow well to the north and west of the coastal plain.
Yeah, once again, the ever since we moved out of February and into March, the weather worm has turned for all of the winter weather lovers out there. We've had so many opportunities, so many chances of getting some significant wintry precipitation, and it is just not fallen the way the winter weather weenies, if I may use that term, like. And this is going to be kind of like a stake through the heart seeing how close we're going to come to a significant late winter or late season winter event as we get ready to make the transition from March into April. But that's the way the worm turns, Joe.
Yeah, and I just kind of outlined where you got that jet, that bottom of that trough, kind of swinging eastward, is where SPC's got that much of that area that I just circled. I have it a little bit too aggressive up to the north, but in terms of the marginal risk, anyway, pushing up into touching southern New Jersey and maybe even into southern Pennsylvania. But when you start to get into that, those 70 and 80 and 100 knot plus winds that are going to be down through northern Georgia, eastern Tennessee. I mean, that is going to be the mechanism that triggers off those thunderstorms. And as far as the snow goes, this is WPC's probability of at least 2 on their latest forecast, which was issued at about a little bit before 5 o'clock this afternoon. So I imagine they got a good whiff of the afternoon guidance here. They kind of beefed up the area a little bit, made it a little larger in terms of the probability of at least 2. And you see the likely area. I like to use that 50% line as a pretty good bet for where the 2 inches is actually going to happen. So if you believe this, it's northern Pennsylvania, probably mostly north of I-80, and then moving northward, the western part of the Catskills, and then going north from there. Binghamton is in this. And then, of course, Rochester, Syracuse, on up into northeastern New York, just north and west. Albany's kind of on the edge there with that snow. And I'll jump off to the probability of 4. And you see the likely area. That's 80% or higher in that salmon color, running from just north of Binghamton and then northeastward. Syracuse is just kind of in that zone, just on the edge. Again, using the 50% line, I think is usually a pretty good bet that, 50% or better chance of at least 4. And then I'll jump to the 8 inches or more. And this is an area that they've beefed up considerably from yesterday, just about all of the Adirondacks, and then going down into central New York State, that circle of lighter blue, that's 50 to 60% probability of at least 8. And when you take a look at the digital forecast from the Weather Service, they've got 6 for Rochester, Joe, 10 for Syracuse, 8 up for Watertown. Albany only gets 1. They actually have a 3, and I guess, what is that, Hunter Mountain in the Catskills there, where that spot is?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I know the tallest mountain in the Adirondacks is Mount Marcy. I often hear people in the Catskills refer to Crane Mountain, which is something like 4,000 or 4,200 feet. But no doubt the highest elevation, again, right around Hunter Mountain, seems to be in line for getting significant snow based upon what you're showing on the screen.
Yeah, and by the way, also some snows down through the mountains in West Virginia, and even into the mountains, some scattered snow being indicated in western North Carolina and easternmost Tennessee. Maybe a little bit of snow shower activity getting into the mix. Does not quite make it down to me, however. Not this time. Frankly, I'm glad. Also, across western Pennsylvania, you're seeing generally a coating to maybe a couple of inches. There's a little swath that goes down around Johnstown and Altoona of a couple of inches there. Elevation is your guide here. So when you start going above 1,000 feet, 1,500 feet, you've got a pretty good bet of getting a solid accumulation. Southern Vermont, Western Mass, a coating to an inch or 2. Northern Vermont, you start to get to some of the bigger numbers. 3 in Montpelier, and then north and west of Mount Montpelier, you've got some 6, 8, and 10 numbers being plotted out by the digital forecast. And note, the snows do really tail off, though, as you go east. There's not really much being indicated for northern New Hampshire or for western Maine. And then that makes sense considering, again, the low track, which is going to be mostly inland as it moves on up to the northeast.
Yep, places right along the coastal part of New England, as you pointed out, the eastern part of New England are going to be pretty well out of this. So if you're thinking about taking a jaunt up to, let's say, Portland, Maine, or Concord, New Hampshire, that's not gonna help you. You got to go again into the Green Mountains of Vermont and maybe the northern White Mountains of New Hampshire to get into that that flaky disposition, so to speak.
Right. Now here's the GFS, the latest GFS tomorrow morning. You see showers in central and western PA, western New York, eastern Ohio, right down the Appalachians into northern Georgia and Alabama. Then, of course, as the front starts to push east, this is actually coming in two pieces because you've got the front, you've got this developing wave, and then you've got the upper trough that's swinging through. And the upper trough, Joe, is generating. This is the second area that's generating. Here's some of that severe weather too. So you get this, what looks like this sort of first push that comes through, and then the wave gets going because of the upper trough, and you see the low at 2 a.m. is sitting, excuse me, just south of Sandy Hook. And of course, at this point, you've got colder air that starts to come in, and the rain changes to snow in western New York, western PA, down through West Virginia, western Virginia, and into the Western Carolina mountains. And you still kind of see this sort of separate area here, the wave at Boston by Thursday morning, and then the upper trough is creating this last surge of rain at the coast. Maybe you see, as you said, you could get maybe an hour or two where you start to get some flakes mixing in during the morning hours on Thursday. Certainly, you'll have a better chance of seeing it when you go into eastern PA. I just don't think that there's the temperature fall is going to be significant enough unless it's in elevated areas. I really don't think it's going to be significant enough to produce any kind of accumulating snows. I'd be quite surprised at that. And then, of course, as the low moves into the Gulf of Maine, Mr. Isobar appears again. They get very tight. The isobars get very tight. The gradient tightens up through tomorrow night into Friday morning. It's not super tight, but it's tight enough that certainly should see gusts into the 30s through the day on Friday. And it's not until Saturday that gradient finally starts to relax a bit as the high swings into western North Carolina, and then that low pulls far enough away to the east.
Yeah, the wind machine will be turned on again. And as I said, I'm not sure whether or not we'll meet criteria for an advisory this go-around, as we've done 5 times so far this month. But it's certainly going to be an active wind, a brisk wind, a cold, or at the very least a chilly wind on Thursday. And as you mentioned, Joe, even into Friday, it looks like the gradient will be tight enough for breezy or brisk conditions before things start calming down in time for the upcoming holiday weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And by the way, on the Weather Prediction Center, they give probability of precipitation maps. And I posted just a few moments ago on my Facebook page, I have rarely seen a drier map than the one that they posted for Saturday morning. There's acres and acres of zero probability from coast to coast. It's about as dry a map on Saturday morning across the contiguous United States as I've ever seen. So if you're concerned about any wet weather problems this weekend, especially in the Northeast, don't worry about it. It looks like it's going to be a dry weekend, mostly dry most everywhere, for both Saturday and also for Easter Sunday as well.
David Scott says he's heading down to Palm Beach on Friday and seeing some cool temps. Well, yeah, this chilly air, the trough is so deep and goes north-south down in through the southeast. So, yeah, that some of that cool air is going to make it down into Florida, where it's been pretty hot, actually, the last few days, from what I've been told by friends of mine who were down there. I did want to leave out the rainfall amounts here from this. The rain is fairly substantial up through New England, 1.5 to 2 inches in parts of Maine and New Hampshire, a little bit less in some areas, probably a little bit of mountain shadowing going on in parts of Vermont, but most areas getting over an inch. And then you get down to Connecticut, southeastern Massachusetts, and then across New Jersey, back through Maryland, eastern PA, down into Virginia, and you start to see amounts on the order of an inch and a quarter, inch and a half. And in the flash flood watch zone, and we really kind of need, this is going to be one of those situations where it's not going to take much to cause some flooding because everything is so saturated and the rivers are so high. But this will probably produce an additional inch to some places as much as 2 inches of rain based on the digital forecast. There could be some upside here, especially if you get into some solid convection and thunderstorms, and if depending on how fast they're moving. If they're not moving too fast, you might see some areas put down double these amounts locally. So those of you living in the flash flood watch area, I'd pay close attention to this and the development of any severe weather. And by the way, just to go back to WPC here, I want to just go back to the surface map of WPC, and for tomorrow, as they have in that slight risk. I don't want to ignore the tornado risk chance for tomorrow. And it's a 2% chance in that slight risk. So maybe they're leaning more to the idea that there's going to be severe thunderstorms with wind and less of a tornado outbreak. Because we were dealing with 15% chances, so 2% is a hell of a lot better than 15. A 15% chance of winds over 60 knots, and a 15% chance of hail. A 5% chance of hail. The map didn't update fast enough. So 15 on the wind, 5% chance of hail, and a 2% chance of tornado activity from Alabama on up into southern Virginia.
I got a chuckle looking at the chat board here. We have person on the chat board, Pat BFD, and Pat BFD writes, "My first was born April 7th during a snowstorm. Hospital was on top of a hill. I had bald tires and a screaming wife."
Oh, good Lord.
I could just imagine that.
Now, Pat, why did you have bald tires? I mean, as someone who checks his tires religiously, I'm asking, coming from that viewpoint, because there's two types of guys. There are guys that pay absolute attention to their cars. The oil change has to occur at mile 3,000 or 5,000 or whatever it is, and seldom does it go over by more than a handful of miles. And then there are those who, the only oil they know is olive and corn. and the oil never gets changed. I knew a guy who never changed his oil, and when they finally went in there, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of miles he put on his car. When they finally went in there to change the oil, it actually came out like a solid ball and just dropped like a lead ball.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. I don't know how he didn't blow up his engine. All right, so you were talking about the Easter weekend, and the only thing that I saw maybe was Saturday night into Sunday morning. There's a little bit of a warm front that's going by southern Canada that triggers off a couple of showers Saturday night, and most of those are from New York City north. On the latest run, actually has a few showers over Long Island and Connecticut, and I guess over you, but they go in and out really quick. And then after that, Sunday looks okay. And, Sal Blandino gave me a lecture today that I was, perhaps I was too pessimistic. I don't know why he referred to it as pessimistic. All I said was that early next week, I thought with this upper low out to the east, and I just brought the upper air up for Monday. There's an upper low that's sitting near Nova Scotia, and our flow is northerly here. I just wonder whether we might get a little bit of a backdoor front that comes down. Because if you look at if I'm just going to rotate this, Joe, but if you look at there's an east-west trough that is dropping southward from northern New England and kind of passes through here Monday afternoon and evening. I think there might be a bit of a backdoor front that comes down, and all that. All I'm saying with that is that it would probably just kind of put a lid on temperatures, perhaps on Tuesday of next week. But Sunday, I think we're going to be in the 60s just about everywhere.
I think so. I think temperatures here in the Hudson Valley, I'm thinking that temperature spread will be somewhere between like 56 and 62, depending, maybe the higher elevations might be a little cooler than the valley spots, but a goodly amount of sunshine. Certainly nothing to compare with some of the Easter Sundays of the past, where we've had some rather atrocious weather occur, such as we mentioned yesterday, 1970, where we had that unexpected snowstorm. But it does look like a very nice, tranquil Easter weekend coming up. And again, you're right, a little frontal line moving through, maybe a little bit of spotty precip north from the city on north
Yeah,
Saturday night, but that should be
yeah,
pretty well gone by Sunday.
right. And then as I said, you get this little backdoor front. There's really not much with it. It's just a light wind shift to the north maybe, or a northeast wind. It just maybe just puts a lid on temperatures. Sky-wise, it's not like a super strong onshore flow with marine air that we're talking about here. And then after that, the flow does go southwest later next week ahead of another cold front that tries to go through here. And, the latest model runs try to, hang it up on top of us with some showers late else that, runs up into western PA and western New York next weekend. But you know what? That's next weekend's problem. On the whole, when you look at what's going on, there's no major storms here. You got this weather system of, after Thursday, after the Wednesday night, Thursday system, there's really nothing much going on in terms of major activity after that, as far as our weather goes for early next week.
It look like it's going to be a very quiet week. Climate Prediction Center, both 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 day outlooks, pointing toward above normal temperatures, below normal precipitation. Joe, we may not have much to talk about come next week.
Well, we are going to have a few days off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thank you.
Go ahead, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you, Barry Goldberg, for hitting Super Chat. He says the Patreon app is worth more than $5 a month.
Thank you, Barry. Appreciate it. He did my shameless self promotion for me. Thank you so much, Barry. I mean that in a funny way. Here's your block. Look at the blocking high that develops just southeast of Greenland. Kind of pins that upper low south of Nova Scotia early next week, but then it pulls out and the block just kind of disappears and goes away. You still have ridging up there, but I mean, to me, it just kind of looks like a typical spring type pattern that's setting a typical early to mid-April type pattern where everything is starting to break down. Atmosphere starts to look blocky, and depending on where you are, if you're in the sweet spot in between upper lows, you actually could have nice weather for a bunch of days, but there's still energy running around. Here we go with a wrapped up upper low, well into the long range in central Tennessee. So the chances of that happen, and then right over northern Georgia. That the chances of that being there on the next run are probably next to zero. But again, these are the games that the models start to play when you get into these blocking patterns during the springtime months. And as I've said, this is for me it is really the most frustrating time of year to forecast as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it is. It could be one. Excuse me. It could be a headache sometimes. Like for example, you mentioned that backdoor cold front. I mean, sometimes these things are not immediately evident until they're virtually on top of you, and then look at that. They've got to draw a frontal line there to indicate a push of cooler air coming down from New England, and we get a lot of those especially during the month of April and sometimes into May as well.
All right, so let's do a little Briller Jeopardy, shall we? The chairman out on his COVID runs, and we wish him well, of course. All right, so question 1. So these are interesting questions. What is unique about the word I'm gonna have this is how it's pronounced. Eunoia. Eunoia. EUNOIA.
Wait a minute. EUNOIA.
Yeah.
EUNOIA. You know
ya? You know ya?
I've never seen that word before. At least I don't think I've ever Anoia. I don't know.
Okay, look at the
what's
spell. Look at the spelling of the word and tell me what you see.
you, I'm looking. Unoia. You.
Look at the
I don't
letters
know.
and
I
tell
don't
me
see
what
it.
you see.
Unoia.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Unoia? You look at the letters. It's not a palindrome, is it? No.
No. You give up?
No, I give up.
It is the shortest word to contain all 5 vowels.
Well, look at that.
And
A
it
E I O U.
and it means
A
beautiful
E I O U.
and it means beautiful thinking. Now you would think that something that means beautiful thinking, they would have thought up a better combination of letters than eunoia. I mean, when would you use it in a sentence? I like your eunoia. Okay, question 2. What soft drink first appeared in the Old Corner drugstore in Waco, Texas in 1885?
Could it have been Coca-Cola?
No. The hint
Pepsi-Cola?
Pepsi Cola hits the spot. 12 full ounces. That's a lot. No, Pepsi didn't.
That's a lot.
Pepsi didn't come along till much later. The hint here is don't think obvious.
Don't think obvious?
Yes, I guess that's a slogan or something for the soda.
Well, you like it, it hates you.
Yeah.
Uh, let's see. What other soft drink or beverage might be other than Coke or Pepsi? Dr. Pepper?
Dr. Pepper. That is the answer.
Really?
Yes, Dr. Pepper.
That's.
What
I
is?
always wondered why Dr. Pepper. They always had like a clock, you know.
Yeah.
I never understood the logo for that.
Right. What is the only letter in the alphabet that doesn't appear in any state's name?
Well, we know it can't be X because it's New Mexico.
Right.
New York. Well, we have Y there. Z is that? Might it be Z? No. No, because Arizona.
Right.
See, you picked the most obvious ones, X, Y, Z, or whatever like that. Does not appear in any state name.
Mm-hmm.
My wife on the chat board says Q.
And the
Wait a
answer.
minute, that's not right. I'm thinking about a city.
Right.
We're thinking about states because I thought about Albuquerque.
Or Quincy, Illinois, or no, it is Q.
Right.
It is the letter Q.
It is Q.
It is Q.
Okay.
Now, what city of 5 million or more is closest to the equator?
Well, I was at one time. I went to Bogota in Colombia. That's about 8 degrees north of the equator. How about would it be Quito, Ecuador?
No, sorry.
No, see. I got thrown off because we just had the last one was Q, and I'm thinking all of a sudden like Bing Quito.
Right.
No, closest to the equator. Not Santiago, Chile.
In Santiago, Chile. Dun, da, 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 in Santiago, Chile. No, it's not Santiago, Chile. I'll give you this.
Caracas, Venezuela.
I'll give you this hint, okay? Melody of Rain.
Melody of Rain?
Yes.
See, I'm not good with songs, Joe. So, I mean, if there's a
No.
particular.
Melody of Rain, that phrase. So take the, the meanings of those words and kind of change them into another word.
Melody of Rain.
Mm-hmm.
Aquazul.
No. I mean, I'm trying to help you here.
Yeah.
Just let me
Yeah.
know when you surrender.
I surrender. What is
Singapore.
Singapore? Singapore.
Right. Melody of Rain,
Right.
Singapore.
Done.
I know it was not. It wasn't a good hint, but it was the best that I could do on short notice. Question 5: Who was the only U.S. president to serve in World War I and in World War II?
Was it and World War II?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Harry Truman?
Nope.
Dwight Eisenhower?
That is correct. Dwight D. Eisenhower. And our sixth
Yes.
and final question of the night: George Washington and John Adams and Thomas Jefferson were all avid collectors and players of what game?
Clue.
No, not Clue.
Chess?
No,
Checkers?
no. More,
Life?
more boyish.
Monopoly?
More of a boy, more of a young boys type game.
Ah. Well, it couldn't be football, could it?
No, avid collectors, avid collectors and players
Avid
of what?
collector.
Right, of what game? Have you lost?
What did they play?
Have you lost your fill in the blank?
Mind?
Well, we know that. What's another? What's the slang for that? Have you lost your
How about marbles?
marbles?
Marbles.
Yes,
Yeah.
very good. Well, these weren't easy questions, Joe. They really
No,
weren't.
these weren't.
No,
Somebody on the chat board said Rayo's having a bad night. He was.
no, they were kind of tough questions tonight. I really thought they were
Yeah.
tough. All right.
Bad day for Rayo.
So I spent my I spent my day today doing taxes. I did. I had to do my mom's taxes, and then I had to do my taxes, and that's just kind of what I did. Just what I spent. I got everything done, so I just have to hit the submit button.
And now everybody can wait now until May 17th.
Yeah, and
That's the,
well, most states I think have extended it also to. I know New York has. I don't know about. I'm sure Jersey has. I don't know for sure, but yeah, everybody's got till May 17th. But I usually file earlier than this, but I had to wait for some paperwork, and then there was paperwork that I couldn't find, so I had to reorder it. So anyway, that was the exciting thing I did with my day. JJ and I walked 5 miles. And we're about to.
I saw your video of JJ barking at the squirrels.
Yeah, I mean, he just finds them completely unacceptable in forest society. He really does. He wants them. He wants them to all go away. Oh God, it's frustrating because like my shoulders are getting great workouts out of this because he's really strong, but he's got to go to the vet on Thursday. He has. I don't know if you're. It's common with dogs. You ever see? I don't know if your dog ever did this. I don't want to get too, visual on this, but they kind of sit on their rear end and they drag their rear end across the floor.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he's got the gland issue, and I'm not doing that. I will pay the vet to do that. I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I clean my kids. I change their diapers. And that's about as far as it goes. I'm not doing that. So that's where he's going. And then tomorrow I get to go to. I'm going to. I have. Everybody knows. Well, at least in the reputation that DMV has in the People's Republic of the state of New York. I have to go there tomorrow here in Georgia. So I will let you know what my experience is tomorrow.
Well, it's we used to go, we still go to the primary location in our vicinity is the one in Peekskill, but we used to go to another one which was kind of in a more rural setting, and we thought we were the only ones who knew about this until recently. Then we went the last time we had to renew our license. We were there for like 2.5 hours.
Oh,
it was like crazy.
No, I have the first appointment of the day tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Oh, you actually made an appointment.
Well, you have to. That's with COVID and everything, they're making everybody make appointments. Yeah, so I had to make an appointment,
Right.
and they open at 8 a.m. I will be there. I am the first appointment of the day, so there should be no line for me. I should walk in and find a very pleasant, hopefully a very pleasant motor vehicle person to help me out.
Good luck.
Yes, I'll let
You're not
you.
going to bring the dog, are you?
No, JJ is going to stay home for that. So, all right. So I'll let you know how that turns out. In the meantime, David Fuller, thanks for hitting super chat, and Barry Goldberg, thank you for hitting super chat tonight. Most appreciated. We said it last night, and we'll say it again in case you weren't on last night. A blessed and happy Passover, and also a happy Easter. We are not going to be doing a Joe and Joe show on Sunday. Actually, Joe, after I have to back out of Thursday because I have to go to my daughter's house on Thursday. So
Monday, Thursday.
right. So tomorrow.
I couldn't believe my sister. I couldn't believe she posted. I posted on my forecast Monday, Thursday, and my sister, who along with I has been a wonderful Catholic, I would hope so. She writes. She said, "I never heard of that term."
Yeah, of course.
How is it possible that she never? How can it possible you never heard of Monday, Thursday?
Yeah. Maundy, whatever it is. Maundy.
Maudy.
Monday,
Thursday.
Maundy.
Ndy.
Right.
Yes.
Not Monday, Thursday. It's Maunday,
Right.
Thursday. Yeah. Well, Holy Thursday is actually, Lent ends. There's always this discussion when does Lent end? And actually, Lent technically ends on Wednesday because Thursday begins the Easter Triduum with Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and then the Easter Vigil on Saturday, which always used to be. When I sang in the choir for 20 years, and the Easter Vigil Mass was always my favorite of the year. I sorely miss that as a choir, as being part of a choir. It was great music, very creative stuff, very inspirational.
And of course, we all gathered together on Saturday night to watch the Ten Commandments.
Yes, exactly. By the way, here's a trivia question. What actor turned down the role that was offered the role of Moses and turned it down? Okay, because he wanted more money, and then as a result of turning it down, Charlton Heston got it. Do you know who?
So there was somebody before. So somebody before Charlton Heston.
Heston was not the first choice.
I didn't know that. I'm trying to think of who might have. It couldn't have been Jimmy Stewart.
No. I'll give you a hint. When the Ricardos and the Mertzes were in Hollywood, he was in one of the Hollywood episodes in the hotel room above the Ricardos, and Lucy was forbidden to see him.
Oh, darn it! It wasn't Bill Holden.
No.
And it wasn't. What's his name with the tall wall around his house? Oh, and you know what? 5 years ago, I would have known this like that, but now, and especially since I Love Lucy now is out of sight, out of mind for the moment.
Right.
Not even on BTV anymore. Who was it upstairs? Who was the person upstairs? And it was the one Bobby threw the newspaper and it ended up in the bathtub.
Right.
Oh, Joe. I'm going to be thinking about this now, unless you. Well, obviously you're going to tell me.
Sure, Cornell Wilde.
Cornell Wilde. Yes.
He turned the role down because he wanted more money, and they wouldn't. They weren't going to pay him, and they went to Charlton Heston.
I love some of the responses on the chat board. Desi Arness.
Yeah.
Ricardo Montalbán. Rock Hudden. Van Johnson.
No, it was Cornell Wilde.
Cornell Wilde.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I oftentimes it's funny. I don't know about you because I'm a big old movie buff. If the only channel that I had on my television set was Turner Classic Movies, I would be a happy camper. I have the app. I watch the movies on my tablet, and I always like the backstories. A lot of the backstories on some of these movies, and it's very interesting when you read about the makings of some of these great classic movies, who they considered for parts. I mean, a lot of times when you look at these movies, they're so etched in our minds that the actor, Humphrey Bogart, for example, in The Maltese Falcon, as Sam Spade. Ingrid Bergman in Casablanca, Bogart in Casablanca, Claude Rains, who steals the movie, in my opinion, and has stolen many movies in terms of his brilliant supporting roles that he played. But when you read about some of the actors that they consider for the part, and then you kind of shake your head, and you say no, it wouldn't, it wouldn't work.
It just wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work. It's very hard to visualize when an actor, when actor's done a really good job in a part when you can't visualize anybody else playing it.
Well, who was it? I read that before Judy Garland, they were considering Shirley Temple to play the role of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, and that never worked out.
Right.
So
That was all studio battles. Shirley Temple had all the cachet at the time. But of course, you see the movie now, Judy Garland, and you start to picture Shirley Temple, and it's like, it wouldn't have worked. Or maybe if Shirley Temple had done the movie, maybe it would have worked, and that would be edged in our mind, and we'd be sitting here saying, they considered Julie Garland for the part. We'd say, nah, wouldn't have worked.
how could that be? Wouldn't happen there.
Yeah, but I'm I love old movies. I could watch them all day long, especially if they're a lot of them are written very well, and they stand out as opposed to some of the crap that's on today.
One movie that shows up around this time of the year is about Barabbas, who was one of those. I think Barabbas was the one who was given the opportunity to.
To switch.
He was going to be crucified, and it turned out that Christ was crucified. But the interesting thing is that I think it was Cecil B. DeMille who directed that movie. They were shooting it in Italy, and it was in 1961, and a total eclipse of the sun was going to pass directly over the middle part of Italy, and they decided that they were going to shoot the crucifixion scene during the eclipse. And if you ever seen that movie, Barabbas, during that particular moment when the crucifixion scene, that is an actual total eclipse that was shot. And as Cecil B. DeMille said prior to the event to the camera people, he said, look, make sure that all of the settings on your cameras are correct. Make sure that everything is right, because we've got only one shot at this.
Yeah.
and it turned out to be just fine. That was
Anthony,
something to watch next time that movie is on.
Anthony Quinn played Barabbas.
Right.
And Jeffrey, I'm trying to think of King of Kings. Was that Jeffrey? What was his name? Jeffrey something. I forget. No, I forgot. Let me do a quick Google. Who played Christ in the King of Kings?
The chairman just hit super chats. And
Thank you.
End the week.
Jeffrey
Jeopardy tomorrow. Category games we played as kids.
Yeah. Oh, nice. It was Jeffrey Hunter who played Jesus in King of Kings. Yeah, all those movies. And some of them are quite good. I mean, in terms of especially these movies with these huge Hollywood ensemble casts where you see just about every famous person there was at the time in some sort of a role. Like in Ten Commandments, you've got Yul Brynner, Ann Baxter, Edward G. Robinson, and a whole host of of characters. Was Red Buttons in that movie?
Well, Jeffrey Hunter is probably more well known to many Star Trek fans. He was in the original pilot episode of
Yes.
Star Trek, and later, after he died young. He was only what 42, 43. But they used Jeffrey Hunter in a 2-part episode called The Menagerie, and that's I mean he was in a number of well-known films and as stage actor or whatever. But ironically, his mark was made in the minds of many on that Star Trek episode when he played Captain Pike.
Yeah. All right, we'll wrap it up for tonight. Thanks everybody for being here. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst. Your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs, or maybe you want to consider this as your business come the fall to get ready for Christmas. Give them a call at 631-957-5106. LIHolidaylighting.com is the website. And, of course, Omni True Value Hardware to get your yard in tip-top shape for spring. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. Best prices in town for mulch and topsoil. They have tons of mulch. 631-756-1125. And the website is omnitruevalue.com. So we will see everybody tomorrow night. Just again, a reminder that Joe and I will be off Thursday through Sunday. So after tomorrow, we won't be back until next Monday. So mark that down on your calendar. I know you'll be disappointed,
Yes.
but it's it's the Easter weekend. Time to take a break, and we're gonna do that. Okay.
We'll do that. Yes.
All right. So everybody,
We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Have a great night and stay safe.